Welcome to the wonderful world of Ferraris in the 70s and the 80s. My name is Marcel, and this is Unknown Charlotte. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Ferraris from the 70s and 80s and their great designs. You can see the 80s inspired wedges and the airflow thought of the time to be modern and futuristic. The 70s had a lot of swoopy lines, which we're going to see here shortly, but in contrast, the 80s had a lot of sharp angles and a lot of wedge design language. We've got the front hood that houses anything from the radiator, the battery, the spare tire, and all the brake components along with the electrical fuses. And then we've got the main cabin. Mondial's a little bit special because it's a four-seater and it's a convertible, so it made it Ferrari's first convertible four-seater. To this day, there hasn't been another one in production, so this is the first and only. And then on the back in the middle, we have the engine bay, and finally the trunk compartment. You can see ergonomically, everything's a mess, but that's what's beautiful about the 80s. Next, we're gonna be looking at our 308. This vehicle is what made Magnum P.I. famous. There's a reason why I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit today. It's because Magnum P.I. is what inspired the 308 to become such a popular vehicle. Several engine variations came in this vehicle, from the quad-carb V8 to the 2-valve fuel-injected one, which is this vehicle, and then later on it had 4 valves per cylinder of the same engine. This vehicle started its production run in the late 70s, but it followed all the way into the 80s. You can see a lot of the trim work and the interior is based all on that. Refined ergonomics came in the later vehicles, but you can see here the design language remains the same. The Mondial 3.2 was the same evolution of an engine from the QV. It has a 3.2 displacement, however, so it has more power. A bunch of interior and ergonomic refinements happen here as well, and you can see them when they're next to each other. The differences are very obvious. The Mondial 3.2 had such refinements that can be seen on the exterior, such as the rubber bumpers being deleted to a much sleeker, smoother front and rear bumper. Also, the wheels went from the metric size to the 16 inches. Interior, there are a lot of switchgear that's a little bit different, and the ergonomics make a little bit more sense. Subtle things like the latches for the convertible top being easier to access, which is still a two-man operation, are much more refined in this vehicle. The 3.2 now has 30 more horsepower in this variation, so it's getting peppier as the time goes along. The displacement grew from 2.9 in the previous vehicles to this 3.2, still 4 valves per cylinder and still fuel injected. This is the 512BB. Many people say that the BB stands for Berliner Boxer, but I call it Big Booty. Big Booty because it has the biggest haunches out of the group here. It has to because it has to house a 12-cylinder engine. And there's no longer a trunk in there, just transaxle. So the rear is just engine and transmission. 12 individual carburetors and 12 cylinders. This flat 12 is the bad boy of its day. The most powerful of its day has a flat 12-cylinder engine that houses individual and 12 carburetors. This feels as special as it looks. It has all the switchgear from the 70s, but the design language you see, very futuristic still. You can't see door handles, you can't see grab handles, there's no switches on the panels. You just kind of have to know where all this stuff is. One of Ferrari's sons was named Dino, and he effectively started the V6 and V8 mid-engine platforms for Ferrari. In true Ferrari form, it didn't have any Ferrari badges, but throughout the years, enthusiasts have put badges on it. But originally the car came with 0 Ferrari badging, except if you look at the placard where it's made on the door sill. This beautiful example is completely unrestored. The mechanicals have been kept up pristinely, and so it runs and drives beautifully. However, the paint and the interior have the original paint that it came from the factory, and so it has a lot of patina. And we'll go over and look at some of the crackling details, but this is what makes it a beautiful example. All kidding aside, the reason we're showcasing these vehicles is because we're in love with them and we love taking care of them. At Unknown Charlotte, we can store them, detail them, and service them and maintain them for you. For more information, you can find us at unknowncharlotte.com.